Well, you'll never see the ending of this one. Wait till it happens. Talk about it's happening. It's happening right here at the SEMA Garage Detroit. Welcome, everybody. John Sarver, CKiW, iRADIO 76, along with Ben Kaminsky, the Manager General.
Thank you. I appreciate you getting my title correct.
Of this whole entire wonderful apparatus. We've been here so many times before, and it's like visiting your favorite relative when you come over here. It's just so much to do, and it's such a breath of fresh air. I mean, that's the reason why we come by. Plus, there's all kinds of things going on with SEMA. Now we got to catch you up. So welcome to the new season of SEMA Garage Detroit, presented by CKiW iRADIO 76. All right, so there you go. All right, so last we have seen you, that goes back to the beginning of the year. So what's happening here?
Yeah, we've had a lot of changes. We've had a lot of new stuff start up. We've had a lot of folks of our members start to take advantage of the SEMA Garage and using it. In fact, we have a big member event here as we're speaking right now, where they're coming in and they're using our training center and our installation center to actually install many of their parts that they're developing for the aftermarket. So that's exciting. Our ADAS, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems program,
right. How's that going?
Is up off the ground, and we've actually been doing a lot of really exciting work, actually dynamic testing down at the Transportation Research Center in Ohio. We've been doing a lot of dynamic testing with our Silverado on different various modifications that we're running through that vehicle.
Before we go too deep, you better refresh people's memory of what ADAS means.
Yeah, so ADAS, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, is things like 360 surround view cameras, forward collision warning, pedestrian automatic emergency braking, all the functions on the car that keep you safe while you're driving. So blind spot detection, all those things. So when we, in the aftermarket, want to go out and let's say that we want to install a level kit on a Chevrolet Silverado, right? That changes the view that the cameras and the sensors on the vehicle see of the world. And we're trying to understand how those modifications to the vehicle will impact the functionality of the ecosystem of that ADAS as a whole.
So how does this always, I mean, even right before, just a few minutes ago, you said there's a lot of changes here. We should probably find out what those changes are.
Yeah, so the changes, I guess, that I'm mentioning are just us getting up and running, really. The changes are new staff coming in, so the facility really getting ready to go, putting the final touches on the facility that needed, getting our calibrations dialed in. People coming in and saying, hey, I want to be part of this. I want to donate some equipment, or I want to,
Yes, you want to donate equipment, here's the place to do it.
That's right. Well, you'll flash my number at the bottom of the screen here, John, I'm sure. So,
for those who have a 42-foot boat, it's B. Kaminsky.
That's right. Make the check out to cash, please. So, so a lot of it is new equipment in the facility, equipment that has been donated. We've had.
So who donated what?
So one of the new cool pieces of equipment that we have is CTEC came in and donated some battery chargers for us. So when we check in vehicles into the facility, one of the first things that we do is we put the CTEC battery tender charger on there, and it actually runs a cycle on there where it'll actually recondition the battery, and it'll also give you a kind of a health check of the battery. So when we go in and do emissions testing, for example, if the battery's dipping low, sometimes you can have some rough starts, some tough starts, some electronics that might restart if the battery dips low enough, right?
And then that
can cause faults. It can cause the numbers to be thrown off for our emissions testing. So it's super important that we have all the electrical systems and all the battery charging systems up to par, up to snuff, right? While we're doing this test.
Wow. Okay, so now, I mean, here's something too, because there's a lot of stuff, or there's not a lot of stuff, but there are some stuff here that has been donated by companies. I mean, how does that work? They just knock on your door and they go, gee, Ben, we got this really great gizmo here,
Yeah, sometimes that's the case for sure. Or there might be something that we look out into the industry and we say we could really use help with this, and we tap on 3 or 4 different SEMA members, for example, that might have expertise in those areas, and we go out to them and say, hey, what do you think about this or that, or have you ever thought about this or that? Sometimes we come up with use cases. For example, Benpack came in and donated all the lifts in our facility, our vehicle lifts, which is great.
How nice is that?
Yeah. Again,
they're not like $10 each.
No, these are really, really nice lifts.
Yeah.
But there are things that we've been talking to them about. Okay, we've got this use case or that use case that is a little bit strange or maybe a little bit new to the market. For example, the width of a lot of like the Raptor trucks, the TRX trucks, you know, that are quite wide, right? That sometimes we haven't had to deal with before. So some of that stuff is an interesting use case, right? That the market hasn't seen. We have a really good partner that's come in and donated our vehicle movers, our Stringo vehicle movers, because our emissions background is so sensitive, we can't actually run vehicles in the building. So this electric vehicle mover, right, comes in, moves the vehicles, shifts them around. We can put them on the dynos, we can put them on the vehicle lifts. We can do all that without creating emissions in the building that can influence the readings of our emissions department. So they've been an excellent partner. We've been excited to have them too.
Ben, how many cars can you fit inside of the place?
Great question. Great question.
That's why we ask them.
Yeah. So it really depends on how tight you want to stack them, I guess. But right now we probably have, I would guess, on the order of about a dozen cars in the facility, you know, either in various states of emissions testing or for our member events or our correlation vehicle. We have a vehicle that we actually send back and forth between our lab in Diamond Bar, California and Detroit to make sure that when we do emissions at either lab, we know what story we're telling in either place, and we can be confident in those numbers. So it really just depends on the week and what we're going to see. We have members coming in that want to do video shoots with our, on our Gray Lake. I affectionately call it the Gray Lake in our soak room. A nice clean facility that they can come in and do product introductions or extol the virtues of the new products they've designed.
In your soak room.
Yeah.
And that is, for those who don't know.
Oh, right. So soak room, yeah, I guess I just throw that term around. And, it's not a hot tub. It's not a...
But if you want to donate one.
That's right. But that's right. Again, we'll flash my number at the bottom of the screen here.
Bring the boat, bring the hot tub.
That's right. But soak room, so before we go in and do emissions testing, the vehicle has to soak at when I say soak, has to be basically parked in a climate-controlled environment for 12 hours prior to going in and doing emissions testing. So and that's what we call the soak period, and that's defined by the Code of Federal Regulations in our emissions test manual to be able to go out and do that. So the first 12 hours are vehicle soaking in a specified temperature environment. So,
and they want to videotape that? How exciting is that? Watch a car get cold. Wow.
Yeah. Well, it does provide the opportunity for them to come in and talk about the vehicle, talk about the products on the vehicle, what's going to be going on with it, that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's kind of a static sort of thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, how long have you been now open? 6 months?
So August 18th was our grand opening last year. So what does that make us? We've been
3 minus 2 plus 5.
Exactly.
Right.
So let's call it 9 months among friends.
How well is California looking at you guys? Are they going? Look, it looks like you guys got some traction going on. Are they saying, well, maybe we should modify something? I mean, what's the feeling now from California?
As far as like our Diamond Bar garage, or as far as
SEMA saying, boy, we kind of went out on a limb to go to Michigan.
Yeah. So there's a couple parts to it, I guess I'll say. So
Sure.
One of them is we've seen incredible response from the OEMs that are in the Detroit area coming into the facility, utilizing the facility, being more interactive, having meetings. More of a discussion with that. So that's paying huge dividends for SEMA Garage for sure, and for our SEMA members as a whole. The emissions programs, the ability to do electric vehicle range testing, we've seen a lot of interest in that sort of program.
Really?
Yeah. They're just the type of vehicle, since we have the latest and greatest AVL equipment dyno, right, in our facility, there are a lot of folks who need that latest and greatest equipment to be able to do that electric vehicle range testing and be able to certify it and those sorts of things. So that's been a big. So we've actually had some updated whiz-bang level 2 chargers installed in our facility to help with that testing and to make sure that we're accommodating our electric vehicle range testing guests so that they can do that testing appropriately.
Wow. Okay. Well, so good, because some of the questions that we've had was, all right, they've been out here. SEMA kind of said, oh, give it a shot, and as long as they're cool and as long as they're happy, of course, what would they not be happy about? Look at all the people are here today, and this is one of the things that were going on today. Evidently, as we're talking about, there is the folks over there with the truck.
Yeah, Real Truck out of Ann Arbor is a SEMA member. They've been a great supporter of SEMA. They're one of our big SEMA members. They're actually here in the facility to doing a training, an installation training, which is exactly one of the use cases that we're excited about here at the garage, where you can go into our training center, you can have the classroom training portion of it, and there's only so much death by PowerPoint one man can take in a day. So then you can actually go downstairs and get some grease under your fingernails and actually install the products and see how easy they are to install on the vehicle, and kind of work through some of that makes sense. Now I can help coach the customer when they call in and say, well, I've got two M6 bolts. One's the long one, one's the short one. Which one goes where,
Look at the PowerPoint.
Yeah,
no,
or zhuzh up
not
their
anymore.
Instruction sheets or whatever, yeah.
The funny thing is that you do have upstairs, and when we say upstairs, it's there. I'm sure you can see it from here. But the classroom is big enough to sit how many people?
So we have the capability for right around 100 folks, depending on how tightly you'd like to pack them in. But yeah, it's comfortably about 100.
100 people, and how many hoists?
We have 4 vehicle hoists, so 2 2-post and 2 4-post lifts. And then we also have a full Hunter vehicle alignment rack. We also, Snap-on was one of the folks that I should mention that came into the facility, donated an alignment machine for us as well. A wheel balancer, like a state-of-the-art wheel balancer. It is amazing.
Snap-on did?
Yeah.
Did they leave any 10 mils?
It's the darndest thing, John. I can't find one 10 mil in the entire building. Is that normal?
Crazy how that works. It must be on my boat that Sea-Ray would like to donate.
That's right. Yes.
Soak your boat. Come on in here. See what your emissions are.
Exactly.
This is exactly what you guys are talking about. You have a member who says, look, because there's a lot of folks out there. It just ain't 10.
Yes,
You
right.
know.
Right, and when Bob's Headers, the one that we keep talking about, coming in, or Bob's Exhaust comes into our facility,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
As a small member, and they start to gain traction. Eventually we hope to grow them. The whole mission statement of SEMA is to help our member companies succeed and prosper. So we want the Bob's Headers or the Bob's Exhaust to grow into, a company, a very successful company like a Real Truck or something like that down the road. And we want to help them basically be able to have the resources to do the testing, have the resources to understand compliance and be compliant with not only emissions but safety regulations and federal vehicle motor safety standards and those sorts of things that are out there. That's specifically what we're here to do.
It's amazing because you would think of all of the donated things that have been mentioned here, we're talking state-of-the-art stuff. We're not talking the stuff that you got at Harbor Freight, although, legally speaking, Harbor Freight does have some very nice things.
Yeah, we've got a ton of SEMA members. They have, and it's amazing what the aftermarket is able to do, and some of the tools that we have access to. But you have it here, though. Yeah.
Because that's what we're saying with Bob Headers. And when we say Bob Headers, this goes back a little bit for those who've seen the first couple of SEMA Garage Detroits with CK. We're talking, if you're just a sole proprietor that has an idea for automotive, but you don't know how to advance this, a lot of people have great ideas, but they get stuck because they go, well, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get certified. Yep. Because in order to get your Bob's Headers out to market, you got to go through a little bit of, it just isn't weld something up, put it in a cardboard box, and ship it. You got to go through A, B, and C. And that's where SEMA comes in for the low price of, but as much as we talk about that, all you have to do is be a member. And it's sliding scale, too, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's based on the company's revenue. So, the Bob's Headers of the world who have 2 employees can get in for a few $100s a year, and be a SEMA member and then have access to the garage, right? That's the threshold to get in. Yeah, and both not only just the garage in Detroit, but the garage in Diamond Bar, as well. So, and you mentioned a very critical point, John, is the compliance portion of this is huge, right?
Yeah.
It's no one single person can really understand it. And I certainly don't have the mental aptitude to do that. But there's several portions of it. One is just the functionality. How do we get through that system? But then SEMA is also working on the front end with legislators and lawmakers in Washington, D.C. to make sure that the laws and regulations that they're writing for the future are reasonable and actually still create a path for the aftermarket, from now until 10 years from now, 15 years from now. So that's a really important part of it as well, which, again, no one person can cover all that, right? You have the
True.
people who understand the compliance portion. You also have the people in Washington, D.C. who are writing the laws who understand, no, if you write the law in this way, that will essentially wipe out this industry, right? So we're protecting it from that as well.
And that's some of the things that we run into. It's like, because we run into Bob, and Bob goes, what's the gotcha? What's the boomerang? What's going to kick me in the butt after I give these guys a couple $100? And then where are they going to take my whatever? It's not. Here's how this goes, and it's pretty simple. If Bob's Headers is successful, you will make more specialty parts. Guess where SEMA comes in? It's in the name.
Yep.
So Bob prospers, SEMA does well, the world does well, and it's all it is. So sometimes in the world, there are some nice things. This is part of it,
So we have, great point, and well said, John. We've got almost 7,000 SEMA members, right? That means companies that we represent.
Yeah,
right?
and we're not from anywhere from Bob's Headers to GM.
Exactly.
I would assume.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So you think about the number of people that impacts jobs, impacts work, right? And you think about all the people outside of even those SEMA member companies that supply materials, that supply raw goods, that supply services to those, whether it's janitorial services or coffee or whatever into those. So the reach and the amount of economic impact that this industry has is very, very high, and that's what we want to keep strong, right? And that's what we're here to do, is kind of be on the wall looking forward to make sure that we defend that. The other thing I guess I'll mention is the SEMA Certified program, which we've kicked off, which is also a great way for Bob's Headers to, let's say you've put the sweat equity in engineering, right? You've built the prototypes, and now you've built tooling, and now you've stocked up to go sell your product, but it's an emissions impact product. So at the end of that, dealing sometimes with a CARB executive order, it could take 6 months, it could take 18 months at the end of that to eventually get approved. The nice part about a SEMA Certified is that we can do the testing for that on Tuesday, and if it meets all the current compliance and regulations with the emissions restrictions, you can sell that part Tuesday night, right, with a SEMA Certified. So you can then start actually realizing the return on investment to invest back into your company, to invest back into the market, to invest back into all those businesses that we just saw, right, that we just talked about. And so it's a huge advantage for our members.
So literally within a couple of hours.
Yeah.
10 hours. For your $200, as opposed to waiting 18 months, and how bureaucracies work. Al got sick, so let's back a month, and well. And Bob's hanging on by, he's got that big note that he's got to pay off.
Exactly. You may have $500,000 just sitting there, right? In
Who does? Bob.
Sweat equity, right? Bob has $500,000.
Bless your help, Bob.
That's right. I'll put my number at the bottom. But the
vote goes too.
That's right. But that's some of the things that we're trying to help with, right? Is to build those companies up.
That's phenomenal. I mean, really, and you think about it. I'll give you $200 if I can get into the express lane at Cedar Point. Let alone something that my company could pivot on. Because really, now that what happens, and we don't have to explain it to you, but it's if you go the other route, if Al's Headers tries to go the route, and it's 18 months, Bob Headers gets it done by the time he listens to all of the Led Zeppelin albums on Atlantic, and then you've already beat your folks to the marketplace.
Right. They're already selling it at the end of Stairway to Heaven, right? So it's a SEMA Certified program.
Yeah,
right?
so by the time you get the presents, you're already starting to do your book work. That's phenomenal. And really, and we keep going back to what's the gotcha.
Yeah, there's, I guess...
We'd like to give you a gotcha.
Yeah,
we don't have one.
Well, I guess I was going to kind of on the other side of the fence, right? If you say I'm not worried about that compliance stuff, I'm small enough where they're not going to start. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about it because I'm too small.
Yeah,
I can show you legal case after legal case, and some of them actually here on the ground in Michigan, where folks weren't compliant with some diesel things recently, and it was several $1 million lawsuit, right?
Yeah.
So The opposite side of that, I guess, would be non-compliance, and the EPA and CARB have demonstrated, especially over the past few years, that they are very serious about enforcement of this. And that's what we want to try to help our members with, is that let's not get into that situation. There's a process, there's a path that we can go through. It's probably more affordable than you think, probably quicker than you think to get to market. And if you do that, you can be assured that you can build your business the right way.
Okay, so we're talking about Bob's headers and EPA stuff. What happens if Bob says, you know what, I'm going to make shock absorbers?
Yeah, we can. So what we try to do in those situations, obviously the emissions kind of program is one of the crown jewels for the SEMA garage. No doubt about it. You know, we're kind of standing on the shoulders of giants here in Detroit with our Diamond Bar colleagues who built that up over multiple years, right?
Right.
But if it's something where they do want to do shock absorbers or something like that, what we try to do is help get them pointed in the right direction. If we don't have the resources here in the garage to help with something, whether it's compliance or engineering or technology, we have a kind of a ledger of folks who do, a Rolodex, if you will. If I can use that term, if anybody still knows what a Rolodex is. Yeah, exactly.
It's next to your yellow pages.
Exactly. But we can flip through and we can say, okay, here's 2 or 3 companies, Al's headers.
Al's shock absorbers.
Al's shock absorbers now. They've expanded. So
for the $1 million that he saved.
That's right, exactly, with the help of SEMA. Now Al's shock absorbers, a new venture. You know, we might be able to help them with CAD data, right? We might be able to help them with scans. We might be able to help them to say, okay, here are the pickup points on this RAM pickup, right? And this is the shock, so here's where you need to start with your shock absorber design. Or if they're saying, well, I want to do some salt spray testing. We've got actually a member across the street that can help with thermal chamber and that can help with salt spray testing and that can help you understand how many hours should I do this for? And does it make sense to do it for 5 hours or 5,000 hours? And they can help coach you through that development process.
5,000 hours.
That's a lot. That's a lot of salt spray testing.
I'll be on the boat.
Yeah, getting salt spray tested in a different way, John.
Over a diamond, But one of the bigger things that we were talking about too is, say you have a dealership, or say you have a resto place, you know, that we're trying to put like new motors in old cars, you know, whether it be a red eye engine in say a 68 Barracuda, or you want to put an LS in an old Camaro or something. SEMA can help these folks out how?
Yeah, I think in a couple different ways. One is we've talked about the emissions compliance piece, so we'll kind of set that to the side, but that could be one portion. Also, we have our legal team in Washington, D.C. is very switched on with the replica car and the low volume manufacture of vehicles that they can help coach through the process to understand some of the compliance and the safety standards that have to go on there, as well as emissions compliance. But lastly, and probably the one that I would say we focus on the most here physically in the Detroit garage, is the scanning portion of that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So we have very whiz-bang 3D scanner that we have.
That wasn't donated. They actually bought it.
And that was a big check we wrote. So if you'd like to donate, John will put my number at the bottom of the screen. But
first the boat, then donate.
That's right. But what we can do is actually go in and scan old vehicles as well, older vehicles that aren't in production anymore, older parts that may not be in production, or new parts where we meld the two, where you say, I wonder if that hood would close over that LS7 that I just put in that Camaro. And we can actually scan those parts in and then actually manipulate them in math, in the data, the CAD data, and figure out, will that fit? What modifications, where are the crashes? What modifications might be necessary to be able to make that happen?
All right, so say I have, because we always go back to our 67 Barracuda. You know, I have a 67 Barracuda, I want to put in a Hellcat motor. All right, but now I need to see, when I bring it to scan, can you scan the whole body? Can you?
Yes.
What can't you scan? Tires?
No, we can scan tires.
Wow.
So the scanner is, I'll say it this way, the scanner is basically line of sight. So if there are narrow passages that you're kind of trying to look down, for example, maybe all the way down the runner of a long intake manifold, that would be where this scanner would struggle to do that. We'd have to actually get a different adapter and a different piece to be able to be able to do that. But as long as it's a line of sight thing, we can scan an entire vehicle. In fact, we have a SEMA member coming in a few weeks that's going to be scanning a semi truck. So
wow,
that should be cool. I'm excited for that.
With a Hellcat motor in it? Wow.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Please write your questions to. So we've got a lot of different variety. I mean, if they want to come in and scan a racing lawnmower, let's do it. Bring it on.
So
sharpen the blades.
I scanned the '67 Barracuda, and now I have, and it's just not that you get the '67 Barracuda files. You get files for like everything, don't you? I mean,
we try to cover as much as we can, right? So we have a couple ways that we get files, John. One way is what we call tech transfer, where we actually get the nominal CAD data from the OE, and we download it. So it is the same math that they design to, that they build to in the plant at the OE. We download that into our system, and then our members have access to that nominal CAD data. There's nothing better than that, right? Is the nominal CAD data that GM and Ford used to design and came to build vehicles, right? But that's kind of the first one. The second way is our scanner that we talked about. So, and we're building our database all the time with more and more data, more and more scans, more and more measuring sessions where the OEMs will actually bring vehicles in. We're working to try to do a couple of what we call measuring sessions by the beginning of July, where we actually work with the OEs to bring in new vehicles or vehicles of interest and give our members access to them so that they can come in and do measurements on their own, or they can have us do the measurements with our measurement equipment, and then put those CAD files on the database as well for download. So those are some of the ways that we can help SEMA members get to that.
Yeah, because we're just thinking about how long would it take to scan a car? I mean, do we have to bring somebody to bring the scan? Is there a SEMA guy that does the scanning?
We actually have an engineer on staff who's responsible for the scanning. So he sits right over here, right behind the camera.
Oh, wow.
And so he's able to come in and do. He's responsible for setting up the scanner. He's responsible for understanding how it works, understanding what works and doesn't work. So there's been a pretty steep learning curve in getting that right.
I bet.
He's been working really hard over the past few months, and he's doing a great job. And we're getting some super high quality scans on some pretty tough stuff. But to scan an entire vehicle, to answer your question directly, John, that you asked earlier, we're looking at roughly about 10 hours to scan an entire
10 hours,
vehicle.
that's it?
Yeah. It actually. Wow. And it goes by so fast.
I feel like QVC. Wow, really? 10 hours before it used to be days and days.
Yeah.
Because actually it really was. All right, so what happens if I bring, say, a six-pack manifold in? Boom. I can't get any more of these six-pack manifolds, say. I bring it in, it gets scanned.
Yeah. Yeah, we can scan it, and we can do kind of, I guess you can almost do kind of a soup to nuts sort of thing, where we would basically scan it, and then we would transfer it into a CAD file that you could go directly to an intake manifold casting house and say, I want this cast, or we could just scan it. You could take the scan file yourself, and if you want to convert it to CAD and make maybe some modifications or things, and then go take it off for quote at a casting house, you could do that too. So, we're pretty flexible on how we can use that, and I think it's pretty flexible on how our members do end up using it.
Or 3D print.
We can do 3D printing as well. That's always a fun thing. Yes, we have a 3D printer in the back. Yep. Yes, we do. And actually, it's a nice piece of equipment. So that was another one of our SEMA members that came in, Stratasys, and donated a piece of equipment. And really, the only thing that we charge for in that case is just the material to print. So we don't charge anything for the machine time. We don't charge anything for the setup. It's strictly just, you use this much material, here's your bill.
All right, so here's my couple $100 because I'm Dave's Intakes. We're running out of guys' names.
Yeah.
So Dave can't find a six-pack, 76-pack intake manifold. Can you scan it? Scan. Can you make me a 3D print out of it? Yes. There's a piece of plastic for you. There's yours. We spent $20 in plastic. Boom, boom, there you go. We didn't charge you to scan it. We didn't charge you to do the CD or the file transfers and all that stuff. Now, do I have the as he grabs the microphone, do I have the files? Or the files are always here for me that I can call back up and say, I have access to the files in case, I probably would like to make another one of those.
So I guess I'll back up one step and say the answer is yes, it depends. It depends on. So,
Yes, it depends.
It did. Number at the bottom of the screen. The point being that if there are some specialized scans that folks want to keep for themselves, they can pay us an hourly rate to go do that scanning for them.
Right.
However, if it's something that our membership is interested in, if you have the next whiz bang, let's say you have a C8 Z06, right, with the new flat plane V8.
Did you say Corvette?
Did I?
Ow!
Can we say that? and you say, and
My pal.
and we have a lot of members who are saying, hey, I would really like the scan data for that vehicle. And you say, well, that's fine. I'd like the scan data as well. So if they allow us to upload that scan data, use the vehicle, upload that scan data to our database and make it available for other members, then that would be a free scan. We wouldn't charge for
Wow. Okay, so I bring in the 6-pack thing. You guys scan it. You can keep the files. And
you can either keep it for you because you want to make your own unique product and you don't want anyone else to have access to that, right? That's your IP. You want to do that.
But I
that's
just
fine.
need to make another one of these.
Yep. Or if you want to make another one of these, we can scan that in. You can keep that for you. Or if you say, hey, I don't have a problem with other members using it as well, we can upload that to the database.
That's amazing. That's. I mean, you know how much it costs to do that, right? If you took that to a shop.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah.
And so let me tell you, even this thing was $1,000 to get into this joint. There's so many things, and again, I feel like almost QVC here, but it's true, and that's the reason why CK is here, because we are so gun-ho of SEMA Garage Detroit, because we keep looking for the gotcha. Trust me, folks, we've seen enough, things that were just so spectacular you wouldn't believe it, and then when you get to it, there's like a hook, and then it's like that thing from Price is Right, wah wah wah. It's like, okay, so you're just a bunch of hooks. Never mind, but not here at SEMA, and that's, I mean, honest to God, we keep looking for what the hook is. We don't find one.
Wait till you get the bill for the bottle of water you had earlier, John, before you say that.
Can you put that?
Put my spot in this.
All right, one last question. If people are thinking about putting in new chips, I mean, finding an old car, finding a 6.7 Barracuda, put in a Hellcat motor and stuff like that, but they can't get around the emissions. Can the people bring that combination, can members, I should say, bring that combination in here and then take it to what, the emissions booth, number 8, is it?
Now you got to maybe think 7 and 8.
Yeah, okay.
Are kind of what we're looking at. The
know?
numbers over the doors. Boy, you're good memory, John.
Where I put my
memory.
keys. Yeah. Anyways, but
so 7. So door 7 behind door 7 and 8 in our is our emissions development program right here.
Right.
And that's what the scenario you laid out is precisely what we're here for. Is to help coach our membership through what that looks like and get them to understand what tests we should run and how to be compliant for that sort of thing, so that, again, they don't have to be peering over their shoulder.
So you can be certified, EPA certified, so you can sell these cars, and not look over your shoulder, because it's kind of like EPA, and without getting government-y kind of thing, it's like when you only owe the IRS $4,000, I'm small potatoes. Yeah. Watch that that $4,000 turn out in 3 years.
Yep.
And guess who knocks on the door, and guess what that bill's like. But if I can bring in, say I'm a developer, I found all these old Chrysler cars, and I really want to put in all this new stuff, but I want a new car, but I want to put the new chip in it, the high-performance chip. I'm not going to touch anything. It's a brand new Camaro, if you can buy one. It's a brand new Challenger, but I want to upgrade it with the chip. But I'm afraid to do so because I'd be out of compliant. I bring the car, I bring the chip, I bring it to 7 and 8. And we say, for my couple $100 or my donation of a 42-foot boat, you too, and then they could schedule a time to come on in here and somehow, some way go, this is what you guys need to do? Or it's like, we found, that you're going to be okay.
Yeah, and so we would basically, the first kind of step in that process is we'd interview them, try to understand what makes the most sense for what, the market that they're trying to sell into, right? And try to coach them. So in some cases, maybe it doesn't, if it's for an off-road use, for example, it doesn't make sense to go through the emissions compliance program if it's truly for drag racing or what have you, right?
Right.
But if it is, then we can help coach them. what should you be thinking about if you're a low volume sort of manufacturer? What should you be thinking about for emissions compliance? What should you be thinking about for safety compliance? So we can kind of coach through that. And then as far as the testing goes, so we're a not-for-profit. So SEMA is a not-for-profit organization. So our business model is basically we just want to break even. So the testing would look like what it costs us to do the testing here. We would basically just charge the member so that we can cover our costs on that testing. So we're typically very competitive. If they were to say, oh, well, I can go and be compliant with company A or company B or company C. And there are many companies that are out there for profit that do a great job of that. But many of them aren't as cost competitive as we are, because we are a not-for-profit organization and we're just looking to cover our costs. So if I can return a black zero to Mr. Spagnola, my CEO, who sits in Diamond Bar, at the end of the year, that's a good thing.
Cool, because that's, again, I keep going back to that within 6 hours, Bob's headers, forget about Al and Dave, you can be certified, and that you don't get anything certified in that short of time. You can't get your driver's license that short of time. To be able to walk out and be competitive in the market right away and have everything go, that's insane. I feel like making headers now, just to see it work, see it happen. Anyways.
Is your little name Bob?
Or Al. But that's what we're talking about. So that's what we were saying, the people, because there's so many people that want to be a Yanko, that want to be a Mr. Norms, that wants to be, whoever else would be on the Ford side, whether it be varsity or whatever. You have the cars, you have all the nice Challengers, the red eyes, you have, the Camaros, forget whatever they got right now. But dealerships want to hop them up, but they can't hop them up because they'd be out of compliance. If the dealerships came here, because you can buy chips anywhere, bring the chip in here, certify them. There you go, folks. Peace out. With EPA stamp, and you have no fears. Honest to God. All right, What's coming up next? Because people should probably try to figure out how to get a hold of you, because I'm sure there's folks right now going, that's for me.
Yeah, so SEMAgarage.com is the best way to drill into the particular services they might be interested in, whether it's our emissions compliance program, whether it's our development program, or the CAD data, the tech transfer. That's a good place to go. It's a good landing page for anything you're really trying to do for development that might help our SEMA members. Or if you're interested in SEMA membership, you can go there as well, and we can direct you to the right spot. As far as coming up, I guess I would say our SEMA show is coming up in November, so that's
in Detroit. We're still hitting that.
We're still in negotiation. Please call the number at the bottom of the screen. So SEMA this year is actually, there's a really cool event happening at the end of SEMA. There will be an industry day where consumers can come in and see the SEMA show. So normally the SEMA show is a business-to-business show, right? For the first portion of the week. On Friday, we're going to open it up to consumers, where consumers can come in on Friday. And then we're having an event at the end of it, actually called SEMA Fest. So SEMA Fest is a music festival, an automotive car celebration that starts basically and goes for the weekend. There will be music, and that actually is at the out in Las Vegas as well, basically adjacent to the convention center.
So you're opening up that, but PRI is still going to be members only?
Yeah, PRI is still a business-to-business show, at least at this point.
But we got plenty to talk about, and we'll talk about that next month. We are going to be here every month, so you're not going to lose anything that's going to go on. If somebody donates something fabulous here, we're going to know about it. You're going to know about it first. It's a cool thing about being with CKiW. So, for Ben Kaminsky, myself, John Sauer, CKiW iRADIO 76, thank you so very much for being with us today at the SEMA Garage Detroit. And thank you for being with the only station that gives a damn about the greatest sport on earth, and that's drag racing. Welcome to CKiW Radio 76.